Oi, you, stay away from the dog. We had a fire and she's rubbish now.
Dr. Gabe guarantees that there's no guarantee that what he's going to be actually truthfully factual.
My opinion? You want my opinion?
Sex isn't really what I'm looking for.
And welcome to another episode of the Neutral Cider Hotel podcast. I'm your host, Ciderologist, or as my parents name me, Gabriel William James Cook, the first of his name. Coming up a bit later on the show, we'll be speaking to Colleen O'Sullivan and James Mann from South London-based cidery Duckchicken and sampling some of their fabulous wares. We'll also be answering some of your questions, listeners. We will have the answers for you. But first, well, you know, there's only really one thing to talk about this week. Now that I've moved to the opposite side of the lake from Nempnett Throwwell, I took the opportunity to pop into Bristol to make some errands the other day. Bristol being where I lived prior to COVID kicking in, and then running away to the Manor House in Devon. Tough times. I went to the dentist. I know. Well, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
One has to do.
One needs to do what one needs whence it's with wrist.
Badminton nets don't cut themselves, eh?
No, they're quite Well said. Well said. If any knife maker would like to sponsor the Neutral Cider Hotel, then you're welcome to get us on our socials. Thank you. I went to the dentist, and you'll all be glad to know that my teeth are, well, in the words of the dentist, remarkably intact given my job. They said there was little acid or sugar damage. Maybe that's because my predilection for bone dry, mortanic-driven ciders has paid off. You see, exactly. that is not orthodontic.
Out comes
advice.
Dr. Gabe again.
Yeah. This time, just drink as much, Ross on Y, balls bittersweet as you want. You'll be just fine, honestly.
1 in 5 dentists recommends Ross on Y. Ross on Y.
1 in 5 doctors recommend Wilkins cider.
Oh dear. Anyway, so dentist, happy, done. I then went for a run. Which was, nice just to try with lovely Sam off of Sam and Steph, the owner proprietors of the Orchard Inn in Bristol. Hi, Sam and Steph.
Oh, lovely.
Yes, hello.
Closed at the moment, but they're raring to go to open back up, and a great trad cider pub, lush. And then the final errand of the day was to go to the Bristol Loaf and the little booze shop down there to grab a bottle of an interesting natural wine. They've got ace selections down there. Ended up with a Serbian orange wine. I mean,
obviously,
could I possibly get more wanky and eclectic if I possibly tried? But accompanying that was a bottle of the old Fox Dog Cat, because I hadn't had the opportunity to taste it. And whilst I'm there purchasing it, I hear, "Is that Gabraham Lincoln?" And I look over, and there is the wonderful Mr. Martin Goodwin Sharman. And there was a moment where our eyes met.
Masked faces as well.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. It's the first time I'd seen you in the flesh in nigh on a year. It was a lovely moment. And like I say, you're taller than I remember you. But, I haven't seen you for so long that in my mind you'd shrunk to just a small square that I can see on the screen in front of me for the listeners, where he's a tiny man. Well, it has been said. So
one of the best purchases in lockdown was 6-inch wedges. So I'm glad they've paid off.
They suit you. They suit you well. So that was really nice a nice little touch. But it did seem to inspire a touch of jealousy in the chat. Martin grabbed a photo and thing that we've got a Neutral Cider Hotel WhatsApp group. We try and keep up to date, which I think Martin puts the photo in there, and a bit of radio silence first of all from Scotland and California, and then whatever. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah. Such
Grant's leaning in already.
This doesn't bode well.
Well, let me run up. Go on, Grant. Tell him how you felt.
It was sad. Made me sad. You know, like, not just you guys, but, you know, it's a strange concept these days to bump into someone in a cafe, you know, or even for me, even to be in a cafe. So yeah, it was, and also I think my question was, did you arrange to meet up without
absolutely
even
not
messaging?
No, this is the thing. That was the first time you've been there, right, Martin? And for me, that was the first time I'd been into Bristol in weeks, like I think before Christmas, and moved some stuff into storage. So it was just pure coincidence. The stars aligned.
So for anyone listening in, Dom and Lara, who run Two Belly, they have a cheese counter there, Two Belly as well. And there's a guy called Charlie who's doing the wine, Bristol Vine?
I think Bristol Vine. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I didn't want to say the wrong name and everyone be like, I didn't want Scott to overdub it and say, so Martin forgot what his introduction to cider was. And he also forgot what his shop was.
That'll come later in the show, I think.
Yes, no, I'm sure it will. But so I know those guys. Charlie used to supply the Good Measure wine as well. Now he's running that wine shop. And it was just for a long walk, just to actually get out of the house. Really been feeling like just stuck in at the moment. And it felt like it almost heightened it, that seeing Gabe, even though for 5 seconds, it was like, it literally was about 2 minutes at most. But
it was.
That kind of, it really galvanized the thought of like that, even though I chat to him weekly, that felt like, oh, I haven't seen you properly in ages. And it felt really awkward, but in a good way. It felt like, and you're like, I've chatted to you probably about 400 hours of this year alone. The idea of not nervous, but being like, I'm caught off guard here.
What do you do in person? Like, that's what it's going to be like that though, right? It's going to be weird and odd and awkward, and because you're still going to have to social distance for a long while. And you know, I don't hug everyone. I'm not someone that describes themselves as I'm a hugger, but like I would like to hug my friends when I see them, and that's an odd thing to not do.
Well, usually I would jump on Gabe's back and he would walk around neighing. That's how we used to drink.
It's true. I do miss those days, but you know, we've got to,
the galloping of the Gabe. He's the horse of knowledge in real life. He just sprouts facts. Unfortunately for me, because he was buying Fox Dog Cat, which I blended with Pilton, I'm kind of like a shit genie, where if you buy that, I have to be summoned. So I'm just there. Like, I was actually doing other things, Gabe, and I just appeared. Just God, for God's sake.
Someone else has bought another bottle.
The bottle, I know, yeah. Oh dear. Bottle. Anyway, so that's been the highlight of kind of the highlight of my week, and obviously of Martin's. Grant, what special things have you been up to?
I attended Manchester Cider Club this week. It's my other virtual drinking cider event other than this.
Cheater.
I know once a month get to hang out with other people on a laptop. But this was a biggie because it was Albert from Ross on Wye and Ben Thompson, who I think Martin's going to talk about in a bit, from Cider Voice. And it was interesting because it was so when you do, if anyone is interested in joining a cider club, I mean, it's not that you have to pay a subscription or anything. You just buy a ticket and a box of cider to join, and you get a Zoom link, and it's always a different cider maker or a few different cider makers, and it doesn't matter where you are in the country, you can join in. So this week, Albert had decided to focus it on blending. So he'd sent the bottles he got were a blend that they had made of Harry Masters Jersey, Dabinet, and Renette Dobré.
Très bien, monsieur.
She's the woman who died second in the Daphne du Maurier novel, of Love from an Apple, I believe.
It's very true, actually.
Amazing.
She was a good character.
And So you got a 750ml bottle of that blend of theirs, and then you got a 500ml bottle of single variety of each. And we all had a drink of the 750, and then we were all encouraged to open the other three and make your own blend.
Oh, wicked.
And it was really interesting. Not many people did the same blend as they had done.
Did you save enough so that you could replicate someone else's blend?
No, I mean, after about 5 minutes, I have no idea what blend was what. There was Susanna from Little Pomona, was her, James and Blair were all on, and Albert went round and asked a few people, and she had done a sort of equal split of them all, and that's what I found worked the best for me. But yeah, after about 5 minutes, I couldn't keep track of. I didn't have enough glasses to be like making different blends and trying them. So, but it was really interesting. It was really good. Really, loads of fun. I loved doing that Manchester Cider Club because I always learn loads, and then at the end of the night, it's like this. They have like an unmuting. Sorry, so everyone unmutes. And it's kind of like everyone's been freed of their shackles, and they're like a few ciders down, and it can get it can get quite rowdy. So I can't wait to actually go to one in person when that's allowed. But yeah, for now, if it's something that interests you, I mentioned the Brum Cider Club as well. Manchester Cider Club is also another great one to look out for.
Lovely.
Bravo. Nice week. Don't make a habit of cheating on us too often, though, will you?
I won't.
All right. Well, there we go. Infidelity sorted. That's our opening gambit. Now, let's dip our toe into the journalism pool and see what's happening in the news. Okay, ladies and gents, that's our opening conversations all done and dusted. Now it's time for the news this week. What have we got? Grant, you've picked up something interesting in the news. What have we got?
I noticed that Sanford Orchards are investing £1.2 million to aid expansion. So
wowzers!
Yeah, Barney Butterfield, chief cider maker there. Whilst other businesses have retrenched during the last 12 months, we've taken the opportunity to press forward with our expansion plans, buoyed by an ever-growing number of consumers who are looking for an antidote to the standard commercial cider brands. So, you guys both know Sanford Orchards as well. Maybe the wider cider audience do too, because they're available in Tesco, I think, or certainly
Morrison's. Definitely, they're in a couple, definitely.
Couple of supermarkets. So I guess are making that kind of leap into mainstream commercial cider making with £1.2 million of investment. We actually we did try and interview Barney for an episode, but the 1.2 mil did not stretch to super fast broadband, unfortunately.
I don't know about the super fast, just banned.
1.2 million is the seconds in lag that the interview had.
So we would love to have you back, Barney, when you've spent 1.1 of that on getting BT to install
mega router,
some fiber optic broadband. Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting, exciting that a cider maker who still has their kind of their approach rooted in tradition and it's skill and a craft that they take to make cider. Are looking to take that step forward.
Well, the product's still there as well. Like, it isn't just let's scale up and kind of dilute. I think every time I've drank their cider over the years, it's felt like modern, fresh, and easy drinking. And I think that kind of mission statement isn't going to change with that kind of backing to it. And in fact, I'm pretty looking forward to more bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a cider maker in the U.S. that you could compare him to, at least in terms of size, so that we would have a reference? Is Angry Orchard too big?
Oh yeah, Angry Orchard would be considerably bigger. It would be in the Two Towns kind of size, probably.
Okay.
I would have thought.
Got it.
But I guess it's probably harder because what's
It's different.
1.2 million in the US to scale up.
Yeah, it's the reason why Sanford orchards are really important, I think, for UK cider is that you both mentioned it, that great cider maker, great ethos, attempting to grow to provide great, accessible range of different products to people via grocers and easily accessible. And that's just something that the UK doesn't have. We don't have the mid-size of producers. You're either huge or you're small. Mm-hmm. There is nobody producing 10 million litres of cider in the UK. You're 3 million, the Sanford orchards and the Sheppies and the Hawks, they're sort of around that sort of area. But to then grow that next step and to not grow into a giant behemoth is really, really hard to do. And they're giving it a good go. And I doff my cap to them, especially, and I don't know how much common knowledge this is, but, it was a really challenging year last year, obviously, for everybody, including apple growers. And Barney honoured all contracts and bought every single apple that every grower had to offer, even if he didn't necessarily need every single apple because he lost huge amounts of sale. So
well done, Barney.
His heart, not only is his heart in the right place, he's just a good guy and he's doing it right. And it's obviously working for him because they're growing and investing. So cheers to you, Barney.
Top man.
Oui.
Gabe, save it for the interview.
So, okay, I'll save in 2022. Right. Well, I'm going to put my doctor's gown back on.
Here we go. Like, just do a little warning here. Anything he says, just don't take with a pinch of salt. Just pretend it isn't real and do the research yourself. So, Gabe, Dr. Gabe, what can we expect in the news this week from you?
Dr. Gabe guarantees that there's no guarantee that what he's going to be actually truthfully factual. I read a report. To be fair,
Sorry. Okay, moving on.
A peer-reviewed published paper about the beneficial anti-platelet and anti-inflammatory properties of Irish apple juice and cider bioactives. That's right. AKA, cider is good for you in it. Well, actually, what it is there's a demonstration that there are properties within apple juice and cider, in this case from the test subjects were in Ireland, that display some of the properties that are known to be in wines and in certain kinds of oils that can have some, positive impacts upon your cardiovascular system. I am not saying that drinking more cider makes your heart better. I'll concede that one on this occasion. Go on. But what has long been suspected, that if you have a great fermented product, there will be potentially some beneficial outcomes from it. So exciting news, everyone. Cheers.
Yeah. Not negated by the fact that it is a drug, and a dangerous drug that's easily accessible, is it?
What's that?
Like every other interview, we chat about like kind of, I guess, a quite candid, honest approach to alcohol as a drug and alcoholism and dealing with lockdown and stuff like this. And then it just feels like the PR machine is like, it's actually good for you in some way. It's like, yeah, the benefit is it's a really good drug that's fun. Like, I don't think I need to know my platelets are on the left field of your Dimmock Reds, but the alcohol's great. That's it. That's the benefit. Just enjoy life while you can. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Dr. Grant, what's your opinion on the matter?
The writing's too small for me to bother reading that report that you posted, Gabe. So,
well, there we go. And Professor Scott.
My opinion? You want my opinion?
Absolutely.
You want my opinion? Go on, Scott.
Drink and be merry. That's what I say.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Professor Scott. He always comes up with the goods. There we go. Martin, what have you been finding in the news this week?
Yeah, so Cider Voice has a website, So Cider Voice, if you don't know, is Ben Thompson, who gives great insight and tasting notes on his Instagram account, but he now has his own website, cidervoice.com, and the first post is The Revolution is Coming, and it's about kegged cider and the crafty side of it. And actually the photo that he's put up is the pub that I run, and it's got the poster from the event that we did with Little Pomona, which was the release of Root and Branch. I nearly said Root and Bone. Root and Branch. It is Root and Branch.
which is also up in my kitchen.
Yeah, but the photo he's got, Grant, isn't the one in your kitchen, though, is it?
No, but the poster's the same.
Yes, yeah, just do it. You sounded so sad. No, but the
What you made me doubt myself for a while, for like a second, and then I was like, no, it is the same.
No, it definitely is the same.
And also, that is really entertaining for all the people who are listening to this audio file.
Visual jokes work well.
What do you boys?
It's not a joke. It's not a joke, Scott. It's really there. Look, I showed you it and everything. You should believe me.
Listeners at home will know from the microphone being moved that he was looking.
Yeah, I know. I was like, should I mute? If I mute my mic, nobody's going to hear me say it.
Nobody's going to hear me move my laptop. Oh God! But yeah, it's a lovely bit of art. The revolution shall not be pasteurized. The revolution shall not be pasteurized is what it says, I think. But that was James brought down the first keg of it to the good measure, and we connected it up. And I remember, I've probably said it already, but he put it through the lime and he tried it. He went, oh, that's lovely. It's worked. Oh, like it was just like, I could kind of then reverse engineer in his head the worry on the way down with this little keg. Like, is it going to be okay? But yes, anyway, the website, cidervoice.com is pretty much going to be one for us to watch, and I'm sure we'll be able to harvest some news from that over the coming years.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess especially this week, was it this week that Malt Review sort of put down their pens or keyboards? And
you sounded like put down dogs or something. You were like put down.
Yeah. So I realised halfway through, I was like, well, they didn't put down their pens because it's laptops. But anyway, the Malt Review where Adam Wells writes, like 2, sometimes 3 articles a week on cider. That's primarily a whiskey website. The Malt Review is no longer going to exist. Adam said that they're going to find another home for the existing work and hopefully continue to do it going forward. But yeah, it's good that Cider Voice has come along, kind of filling that hole and that void for just now, and will continue to be a place that people can go to learn about cider.
Yeah, well, like you said it then as well, but Adam's writing was killer, very honest and candid when it needed to be, and also hyper dissecting styles and single bottlings and everything. So it was like always an eye-opening read. And I know James Finch had done some writing for the website as well, and his post on the kind of vertical tasting of Gold Rush was one which was like, that was just like reliving the years. So I'm glad that those guys are going to have their writing find a new home, and also that they've got to keep on going in some capacity, haven't they? Like, I mean, more to read, please, guys. And if Cider Voice can provide more voices in the cider industry, it's all the better, baby.
Definitely.
There you go. You heard it from the man himself. All right, that's a wrap on the news this week. Coming up next, our chat and tasting with Colleen and James from Duckchicken Cider. It's time for this week's interview. Grant, who is dropping by to say hello today?
This week, our guests are 2 cider makers spurred on by a mutual love of travel and fermented apples. Having only started in 2016, they've garnered quite a following in the cider community with their aptly named and much loved creation, Giggle Juice. They produce cider out of their South London flat using apples from a non-commercial orchard in Kent, and have now turned their focus to wild fermentation. I'm so pleased to welcome the coolest poultry-inspired cider makers in the country, chicken into the hotel. It's Colleen O'Sullivan and James Mann of Duckchicken Cider. Woo! Hello.
You did that. You really did that. Chicken into this.
Chicken, you heard it.
It's at the end when we're going to be ducking out. That's going to be the worst.
Oh, what a start. Hey, we're rolling.
It's all downhill from here, James. That's it.
Yeah, that is it.
Peaked at the start.
I guess a good place to start would be tell us a little bit about Duckchicken Cider.
We both like cider for a long time. At the time before we started making cider, I, for some reason, decided I couldn't drink beer, which turns out I can. So that was a mistake. I was drinking a lot of cider, just trying to find all the cider in London and go to cider festivals and beer festivals and drinking all that. And then we sort of talked about making cider. I both enjoyed cider. We've traveled around drinking cider. We used to travel exclusively almost to places that made cider because I knew I could actually get something to drink. So we'd go to the Basque Country or the Mostviertel or Frankfurt, and there'd be places where actually they serve cider, which is obviously rare on outside of the UK.
There's not a massive tourism trade around cider,
no.
Is there? I mean, I guess you've probably named the top 2 or 3 there.
Besides Normandy, which we still haven't been to, which is a bit of a...
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yet.
Astorius.
Yeah, no, Astorius.
Yet. I mean, I've been to Normandy, but not for cider.
Not to drink cider.
We just read in the news an article about a scientific paper advocating the potential healthy benefits to the cardiovascular system, which is basically a very long-winded way of me saying, can I open up a cider because I'm quite thirsty?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be.
I'm thirsty and I'm feeling like heart failure.
Like my heart failure. Yeah. So Easter Hill, what do we think?
Yeah, I think Easter Hill.
Easter Hill, all right.
Yeah.
Because that is our original cider we've been making.
Yeah, this will send us on our cider journey, if you will.
Yeah.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Whilst we're opening up, I've got a very important question for you. Obviously, on your label, we've got a duck and a chicken. Because you're Duckchicken Cider, but being the keen ornithologist that I am, I noticed it's not any old duck you've got on here, but is that a goosander or a red-breasted merganser on there? What have you got?
Fucking hell, Gabe.
You're correct.
You're fucking right on your
It's a
second
red-breasted
answer.
merganser.
Yeah.
Yes, I knew it.
That's really good.
I mean, that's obviously the most important thing, rather than the fact that the duck has got 3 legs, which I suspect isn't naturally occurring in nature. Anyway, maybe that's something to do about the intense properties of the cider. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Gabe, what the fuck is that as a question? What?
What? That's brilliant.
How do you know that, Gabe? That's the question.
I tell you, as a young boy in the Shire, before I got interested in cider, I was keen on animals. What can I say?
Wow.
Yeah, so we spent 2 weeks in the Faroe Islands, and the red-breasted merganser was the favourite duck we saw. We saw a lot of ducks. That was it, just ducks. Barely any people.
Yeah, so when we decided to get these labels made up, we we're like, right, we've got to choose a cool chicken and a cool duck. And James was inspired by his boss, who's from Orpington. So we got an Orpington blue chicken. And then we're like, we've got to go with that merganser. It's so cool. And wild. We just called them the mad professor ducks on the fjords. They'd come by every day. We're like, there they are. Look at them. They're so cool with the little bits of feathers sticking out the back of their head. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool.
Where did presumably you already had the name before you picked your breeds. Where does the name Duckchicken come from?
Yeah, we haven't even done our proper story yet. We're just going straight into the red-breasted merganser.
We're getting back into
that's fine.
Into our second rebrand, and you asked us where we started.
Yeah, the name Duckchicken came from Well, we just discovered it the other day again. From James calls me Sully because my last name is O'Sullivan. And one day he was texting me when I was at work, and instead of calling me Sully, I got this message that said, hope your day gets better, Sully Duckchicken. I was like, what? I'm sorry, what? What does that mean? And he's like, no, I don't know. Apple has just suggested to change your name to Sully Duckchicken. Like, all right. And then everything after that just became Duckchicken. Called each other Duckchicken. Everything that was like like emote was like sad Duckchicken, happy Duckchicken. So like 6 weeks later, when we started the cider, or we went to pick the apples, we're like, we've got to have a name for this cider company. Like, do you have any ideas? No. Okay. How about just Duckchicken? Okay, let's go with that. So it was kind of it. That was it, really.
Well, yeah. Happy Duckchicken, definitely from the nose immediately. This is like one of the fruitiest ciders on the nose straight away. Is that what's giving it that? How did you bring that out of the apples?
I have no idea. Magic.
We didn't do anything particular to do that. We pressed them and put them in a tank.
But
and then we pumped them into another tank, and then we left it for a while. I think this has kind
of been the magic of the whole time we've been making cider, is we've come at it just with a love of the product and not any background. You know, we read Andrew Lee's book, and that's as far as our cider education has gone.
Books?
What's that?
Any other books?
Any other books? No, none that come to mind.
I don't think there are any.
None with a red cover, maybe called Ciderology by Gabe Cook, possibly. Maybe
does not ring a bell.
No.
It does not ring a bell.
Yes.
Well, lovely.
That's it. We can end that episode now.
So you're saying that it's like it's not a pursuit of it to get certain varieties and almost like geek out on that kind of process. It's just the sheer joy of pressing and having the apples and the juice.
Yeah, I think after the so we got access to the orchard by sort of a random conversation that like ended up being, I know someone with an orchard. Would you like to go and have a look at it? And would you like to pick the apples from it? And I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's a few trees. We went down and there's 144 trees, which was great then. But now that we have to prune them all, it's more hard work. So we went down and then, we picked the first year. As you can tell from the microphone and stuff, that we don't like go, if we want to do something, we sort of do it properly. So we bought a bunch of really good equipment and got a 90 litre hydro press and a few tanks, and then just pressed the first year, and it came out surprisingly well. And that's
so the orchard is about 104 trees, and maybe 120 of them are Cox apples. The rest is Worcester Pearmain, which we did press the first year, and we just didn't get on with that apple variety. So the Cox apples, the Cox cider was really, really good and quite acidic. And like we said, we've been traveling to San Sebastian a couple of times before then, and really got on with the acid of their ciders. So we were like, this is perfect. This is exactly what we want to drink. And it wasn't with any purpose or intelligence. We just kind of lucked into this situation where we got this beautiful acidic cider from the apples we were given.
And they're beautiful old trees. I think they're like a remnant of the old Cox orchards of Kent, which were sort of grubbed up in the 1990s for like a really small amount of money. The farmers were given like £100 an acre or something to grab up all these beautiful trees.
Jesus.
But luckily, these are maintained not for a commercial reason, just for someone wanted to have some trees. So it's really nice to actually have that like part of history. These trees are probably planted in the 50s, maybe post-war. And then, we made it from that. We tried a few different sort of methods, like adding sulfites, not adding sulfites, adding yeast, not adding yeast. And as you said, we're sort of moving towards hard fermentation. I think that's been a gradual process of, we feel if we have good fruit and we very selective, we press it carefully and ferment it carefully and try to avoid oxygen exposure and so on, we end up with a nice clean product. And that's all we're really going for, is a nice clean cider. I think that's our goal.
So being Duckchicken cider, I was thinking about what two animals would you combine and why into one beast?
Like the greatest animal? Like what? To what end?
Sexiest chimera. I think that's what we're looking for.
Sex isn't really what I'm looking for. Just what, and if you're going to say, you're not allowed to
Top
say
of the episode,
you're not allowed to say Duckchicken, but pick your two animals to make one animal that is gonna just is gonna be the greatest creature that's ever lived. What would those two animals be? Why?
Well, I've actually got an answer, but I want it to be 3 animals.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's totally fine.
Does that work?
Chimera, nice.
And
But that means James can only have one animal.
Yeah.
That's
easier
fine.
for me at least. Like a cool animal.
I'm going to go with
Oh,
behind our head is Eugene, the urban animal.
Hi,
so
Eugene.
my friend Latina made this for me a couple of years ago for my birthday, and I think it was supposed to be a cat. I was like, that's not a cat. I think it's.
I hope you said thanks first.
Yeah. And by the way, thank you for this beautiful birthday gift. You've
love
obviously
you.
spent
Thank
some
you.
time.
What the actual?
But this is not a cat. We just call it the urban animal because it looks like a fox and a dog and a cat all in one.
Did you say
And
fox, dog, cat?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That sounds really familiar. Like, there's almost like there's a cider called Fox, Dog, Cat.
Yeah.
Is that?
That's really
Pilton?
weird.
I think it might have been Pilton.
It might even be by Pilton.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It
Or
doesn't
is it
take.
Fox Duck Cat?
It's
I swear to God,
Fox,
if
dog,
Martin
cat.
has named it Eugene, the
Eugene
cider
the cider.
animal, I'm going to be pissed.
It's called Fox Dog Cat, and it's supposed to be the lazy job. The lazy dog jumps over the fox, whatever the fuck it is. The lazy fox jumps over the dog. Oh, fucking hell, I don't know. I need some giggle juice.
I know that we're not even drinking giggle juice.
You don't even get giggle
No,
juice.
but what have we
It's
got
too
next,
precious.
guys? That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Precious.
So next, having skipped the orchard where we get the giggle juice from, or we get at least the russet from the giggle juice from, is a new orchard that we picked for the first time this year. It's a bit further south. I mean, it's in Staplehurst rather than like Tunbridge Wells. And it is a very, very old Bramley orchard with some of the gaps in the old Bramley trees. The Bramley trees, we think, there's a sign from about 10 years ago that says they were 80 to 90 years old then. So they're enormous old Bramley trees. And then the gaps between those trees, about 15, 20 years ago, were filled in with some random varieties, which we don't know. So we, in the spirit of seeing what happens, just picked them all, or picked everything we could, and pressed them all separately. And then once we had the juice and we had an idea what the juice tasted like, we stuck them all in a barrel together, rather than doing anything more complicated.
We didn't get much yield off each tree. It wasn't enough to do anything.
And we gave them
individually.
all silly names.
Go on, list some names then.
We've got Gooseblood, Demon Russet, Semicox, might be Byford.
Your delivery is so fucking dry. It's making-
I think that last one's my favourite.
Might be Byford.
Might be by.
This is This is my life. every day is dry. I think that's why we make dry cider.
That's your branding. Every day is dry. There you go. That's all you need.
Yeah, you should do the TV ads when you get to that stage, James.
Hi, I'm James. Welcome to Duckchicken.
I don't think there will be TV ads when we get to that stage. Yeah. It'll just be some YouTube ad. YouTube you keep getting at.
Yeah, it'll be the opposite. When we get our faxes about Duckchicken cider, we'll know who's responsible for it. But
please do page me when that happens.
Yes.
That'd be great. I'm looking forward to that.
We've got our telegrams set up with Western Union.
One of the things I wanted to kind of ask, it's kind of a weird one looking at the whole cider industry, but a lot of the makers we chat to, they're either just doing it solo, they're by themselves, or more likely than not, they're married or a couple together going all in. And I wanted to ask how that's been for you as a couple, but also what would you say to, say, a couple that are coming up to you in a pub in the next year and they say, oh, we're looking to get into cider in our maisonette. What advice would you give to young couple cider makers?
Man, I don't know. Like, we've enjoyed it so much making our product together, to be honest. I think we both have kind of settled into our own little roles within the production. I do a lot of the emailing and social media. James does a lot of the research into like whatever
random things I can buy.
Yeah, random things James can buy. And we try not to step on each other's toes too much. I think when we do, we kind of get a bit like we get a bit like, well, why are you saying that?
Like, but did you tweet about that? Yeah, like, I'm going to tweet about that. Did you send the VAT return? No, sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely been like worth it, 100% worth it, especially during lockdown. The last 11 months, like, they're tough for anyone. I think it's especially, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, James, but it's maybe been a little bit more tough for you because you're stuck at home. I'm at least able to go out to do my work. But having that after work, after we log off our computers, just be like, okay, tonight we've got a bottle, 100 bottles from this tank. Like, let's get it done. And it's like a really good bonding experience for us. I don't know, we just really enjoy it. It's
we're
great.
lucky. I think we're very lucky that we both have an equal participation and very equal. Everything's equal for us. And I think that's, I don't know if all young aspiring cider maker couples have that, or perhaps if one person sees it as their hobby. I don't know, but it's difficult to see it working in any other way. If it was just like, Colleen was like, well, I'm going to get the press out and do pressing apples. And I'm like, all right, I'll just sit in the living room.
Tweeting.
Doing VAT returns.
Sending pictures on Instagram or something of my knitting.
I'm sure your knitting would be really nice. I'm sure it would be really nice, James.
I do great knitting.
So I'd obviously just seen that you've poured the Demons of Spills Hill. This is the second cider that we've got. Wow, I'm going to say absolutely wow. I don't know what you have in the midst of this orchard, but it's things that pack a mega punch from a tannic point of view, for grippy mouthfeel, from a phenolic point of view, really, really sort of woody and spicy. That's like, it's really the woody, spicy, almost resinous kind of.
There's some smokiness.
I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Beautiful colour as well.
There's a real mouthfeel and a texture. It's almost juicy. I think it is juicy, but because it's so grippy, that's sort of cutting through that a little bit at the same time. I'll tell you what, you presented this as a West Country cider from down in Somerset, Devon, Dorset. They would be very, very proud of it. Congrats, guys. I think that's absolutely... That's great. I really like them. My girlfriend really likes as well. These ciders that have this grippiness, this slightly taut chewiness kind of to it. I don't want it to be too smooth. I want the grab, and that's grabbing.
Yeah. I'm glad you like it. I think grippiness is like a good word. I hadn't thought of to describe it, but I think you're right. It kind of finishes on a really nice. There's just a subtle appley flavor right at the end, just to leave your mouth, like your palate, clear and like, okay, I could have another drink of that. That's good, even though it's sending on a little bit of a taste adventure during the mouth. So
I'm getting berries on the end here as well. Even like, I think it's really fruity.
I've just done a blend like 60-40, 60 on the
60, 40,
Easter.
40. Jesus Christ, but to be sending you an extra box.
We've never done that.
It's lovely.
I've never.
I'm
we
with
used
you.
to blend.
I'm doing it right
I can
now.
imagine that's pretty like fucking ultra Kentish blend.
Oh, that's clever. That's very clever.
Floral citrusy, and then it cuts into that like grippy, structured mouthfeel.
60-40 what way, Martin?
60 Easter, and then 40 demons.
I've gone the other way. I've gone like 30 Easter, 60 demons.
What's the other 10%?
36 there, yeah. What's the other 10, Gabe? Fucking hell, you are bad at math.
So, guys, one time Gabe did a game in the show where he gave us 40 points, and he tried to even it out as like everyone draws, and gave himself 50 points. So he won a game he hosted
By cheating.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even cheating. He just went, and I get 50. So it was like, what the fuck was the point in the last half hour?
And your point is?
Perfect.
My point is, tis one to do the same. But guys, they're both lovely, and it's funny that so markedly different. It isn't just like, oh, we're working from the same orchard, and here's our this with that, and it's like minute touches, and they're all similar. It's like I wouldn't give these to the same person in my family, knowing that they would love them. Do you know what I mean? Like my wife would like number 1, the Easter, and I can tell she wouldn't go for number 2. Like I can just tell you right now. So it's like, it's so crazy that with I guess the kind of urban link is you have access to these orchards. You're not tied to being a family plot where you've got one thing and that's all you can work with. You kind of able to be a rolling stone with it.
It's about the terroir, and if you taste probably 2019 Giggle Juice compared to 2020 Giggle Juice, there's a subtle difference to that. And because we picked the russets from the commercial orchard in Pembury, but we picked the Bramleys from the new orchard in Staplehurst, it does taste different. There's a little bit of a tweak on the whole taste profile, not in a bad way, not in a good way. I think it's just different. And I think this new orchard is just going to open up a lot of opportunities for us. And the orchards are probably 20 miles from each other, 30 miles?
20 miles, yeah.
But you can taste the difference in it. I think that's it. But I think if you had Easter Hill and the Derek from IT and the Giggle Juice in the years past, they've actually tasted very similar, and I've accounted a lot of that towards our house yeast, but it's probably a lot based on the terroir of those orchards rather than house yeast, maybe. Just that subtle difference of 30 miles moving to a different orchard.
The soil could be different.
Something else.
I mean, the new orchard produces Bramleys that can go over 8.5%.
Fucking
like on their own.
It's absolutely fucking insane.
We used to pick Bramleys from the commercial orchard, and it would get like 5.5, 6.
Yeah, that was like the max. It was 5.5%, and these the ones we picked this year were like 8.5 at the end of the season.
As a sort of a final question and a looking forward, positive, looking ahead, what are the exciting things that are on the horizons for Duckchicken in terms of products, or when the world opens up a little bit, what does the future hold?
This year we've produced 12 different ciders.
Fucking hell.
Which is
wow.
pretty remarkable. I don't know if all of them will be for sale. Maybe 8 of those will be, because they're kind of just like test batches and see how they go. We like to be incremental. They're like, does this taste okay? Yes, it tastes okay. We could scale it up next year, maybe, if it works. What are we excited about? Just like everything. Honestly, everything. Like this year, our pet nat, I think, is tasting bangin', and
Nice.
we didn't fuck it up like we did last year, which is super awesome. It's not exploding everywhere. We haven't had to repackage it a couple of times. We haven't done like any key kegs this year, which is a bit sad. We could possibly do some a little bit later in the year. We'll see if, the sales, not sales, but if pubs open up and a demand for key kegs continues. But that's one region we definitely would like to expand upon, because I think it is, as Albert from Ross and Y has said, it is kind of the future to like get on board on the like same level as craft beer, and like have that pump clip on the same, like on the bar with everything else,
and have that consistent quality product that no one's really going to like. You can give that to a bar, and if they're going to have key kegs on, they're going to have the standards that require to serve good key keg all the time. Whereas a bag-in-box, there's nothing more disappointing than going to a really nice pub that you've spent a few emails and really pushed to try and get your cider on there, and then tasting it and being like, wow, good job, you guys cooked it on top of a fridge, which isn't going to happen with key keg per se, because they're going to keep it in the cellar rather than on the bar in like a sad looking box.
Well, yeah, I've the key keg thing is something I'm not sure about. I don't understand. I think, yes, it creates great cider, and it's an opportunity for drinkers to try something without committing to a 750 or something like that. But as someone who sells cider to bars and things, it's hard to get in there. That's the stumbling block for any kegged craft or artisanal or fine cider, whatever you want to call it at the moment. It's difficult to get it into bars.
I mean, when the container costs £10 more than it would if you did put it in the same size container in bib, it's going to be a challenge. But we're hoping to work with Sam Nightingale to get some canned giggle juice. So that's going to be exciting this year.
Oh, holy shit.
Okay, Martin perked up for that.
440ml cans.
Tell me more. What?
It was more the like, guys, so what's the plans for 2021? You went, maybe everything, yada, yada. And you've just gone, oh, and by the way, cans of giggle juice.
Yeah, I forgot about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I forgot about
So we
that.
have
Like minor detail, actually.
I was actually like, I didn't want to interrupt her because I was waiting for her
For me to say
mention
it.
cans.
Yeah, I forgot.
I mean, she talked about big cans, the key kegs.
Yeah.
That's what they're called in the pubs. Yeah.
That's not really, James, that's not really what, not the same. But right, cans, brilliant.
Yeah, so we're hoping to do dry force carved.
Yeah.
Just full clean cans of giggle juice.
Nice.
Can you imagine the world of like 440ml cans of dry cider available in the market?
I can imagine them in my fucking
What a
fridge,
future.
mate. That's straight away.
What
Yeah.
a fucking future.
I can
is
imagine.
that?
I can imagine the empty cans in the recycling. That's how far forward I am with it.
I mean, giggle juice is a lovely drink. I don't want to dismiss it because it is one of our best. Well, we've been making it for 4 seasons now, so it is like one of our more seasoned drinks. But I wish we put the Easter Hill as giggle juice. I think we really fucked up there. Because we really like Easter Hill more. And I think people are, for no wrong reason, attracted to the name Giggle Juice. It's a great name for a cider. And I think it pushes sales for us, like to have something called Giggle Juice. And I think makes sense for us to put something like that in cans and to make it a bit more industrial. Not really, but we're probably gonna make like 300 liters of this, so it's not like a big deal.
That's volume for us.
Doesn't matter.
When you say industrial, do you mean kind of like Kraftwerk, die Schaufensterpuppen kind of style of industrial musical aspect of things?
Kraftwerk is not industrial. Out of all the industrial bands you could have gone for, you went for Kraftwerk. Fucking hell.
My knowledge of industrial German music's not as impressive as yours, Martin.
I think it's going to be our volume.
I think it's because something we could scale up at this point. Things go right, we could send a couple thousand liters of Giggle Juice to the canner for sale, and I think it would sell really, really well. And that would be really exciting because it's a really fucking good cider, and to put something like that out on the market as totally dry, I think that would be really like the future.
Yeah. Well, honestly, from hearing that, I am absolutely looking forward to. I'm going to call every 6-pack of Giggle Juice that I get, it's going to be a gaggle of Giggle Juice. And if I can fucking smash through that all summer, we're on to a winner, baby. So thanks very much, guys.
Nice. Thanks,
Cheers.
Martin.
Personally, I think you should be calling it red-breasted Mergant's Orpington juice, but that's just my personal opinion.
It's very niche.
It is.
I'm not sure who that's going to appeal to besides yourself.
It'll appeal to the Wildfowl and Wetland Brigade. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us and bearing with us this evening. For anybody who wants to learn a little bit more about Duckchicken cider, where should they head to?
Well, they can head to duckchickencider.co.uk. We're on Twitter at DC_cider and on Instagram at duckchicken_cider, I think. And yes. You can just Facebook us too. Yeah. Anyways, just do Duckchicken cider into
there
Google.
There aren't many
and you'll find us
out there probably. So,
no, not very many. You'll find us straight away.
Colleen, James, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've had a good time. We certainly have had a hoot. And your ciders, these are a couple of great ciders, and I'm really looking forward to tasting everything that comes out from this year and beyond. So good luck to you, and thanks for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.
And now it's time for listener questions, where we tackle the hard-hitting questions of you, our dear listeners. Martin, I hear we have something a little bit special this week. What do we got, my friend?
Yeah, so I guess the question is poetry allowed? And the only reason... Well, sorry, tease. But
right, end of segment. Here we go.
Moving on.
That wasn't an actual question. Okay, sorry.
So on Instagram, I received a message from les_the_man. Tease is the username here, but they said, let me have a drink of cider first.
Okay. Here we go.
Freezing, almost frozen. Lost in badly lit precincts of my consciousness. Thus, one night I was stumbling when a certain Simon summoned me to enter this unknown accommodation, the Neutral Cider Hotel. And fucking hell, I lounged and listened, learned a little, laughed a lot. Simon is gone, but I've come back, eavesdropping on every room on offer. Even ventured out on New Tower, chilled, not freezing. Drinking, not drunk. And maybe one day I'll be able, that's able spelt like Grant Cider Shop.
Oh, brilliant.
To find words worth recollecting. Spontaneous overflows of apples, powerful. Fermented in something that rhymes. Annoyingly succinct with tranquility.
Nice.
And then they said... That was as a post of appreciation from a guy in Germany that listens to Biffy Clyro and Frightened Rabbit. If it's a poem, it's called Cider Lines. And I said, that is definitely getting read on the next episode. Love you in Germany, Martin. Glad you listened and have stuck around, because it is important. They've obviously come from the Biffy episode and gone, fuck, and annoyingly succinct, able. They're fucking into textuality.
They have undertaken the full review of the back catalogue.
Yeah. Well, also they said, please go gently in case I got anything completely wrong, not being a native language and cider-wise. And I stand by the fact everything reads there brilliantly. And I haven't changed anything for positivity, but...
That's amazing.
But here we are, that they said, hi, Martin, no poetry this time. And I just blocked them then. But although I wonder whether the second but last is grammatically correct, in an annoyingly succinct fashion, ? Anyway, coming from and still living in a region in Germany on the border of Bavaria and Hesse, where Apfelwein is quite popular, how does this drink relate to cider? As far as I can see, the focus here is rather on just processing the apples at hand than actual crafting. If German Apfelwein is an option at all, I'm curious about the NCH's opinion. Cheers, Thorsten. So the question here, Gabe, and it's mainly for you, Apfelwein versus cider. What are the differences and what can this person take from it?
Thorsten, thank you very much for your annoyingly strong command of the English language, which is not your first language. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Putting the Scottish guy in the podcast to shame. I'm surprised one of you didn't say that, actually.
Yeah.
I'm now setting you up to slag off Scotland.
Well, I can tell how much you've drank because you're just giving Scotland on a plate, whereas usually it's the other way around. And you're like, you fucking...
I know. I'll have an argument with myself later. It's fine.
He's going to bed like these fucking Germans and they're Scottish.
And this fucking Scottish guy said he didn't care about people taking the piss out of Scotland.
Anyway, Gabe, apple wine.
So, Apfelwein. Apfelwein is effectively the name given to cider made in this part of Germany, the sort of the southwestern parts. It's generally characterized from a flavor profile. Apples that are more acid driven. It tends to be quite dry, and it's still generally and presented in a style not necessarily that you would drink it instead of wine, because it's also it's a wine growing area as well. You've got the Mosel, and so you've got lots of really bright Rieslings and Pinot Gris and things down there, and sort of the Alsatian region as you get onto the French border too. So generally it's characterized by being light, acid driven, a bit floral, still, and quite dry. And there's starting to be some different interpretations, more modern interpretations of that. And I suppose if you're trying to break out of that more traditional mold, then maybe you would utilize the term cider, which is, gaining a little bit more understanding and knowledge across different parts of Europe. But maybe that's a bit more synonymous with some of the very mainstream kind of brands, which have a, minimal amount of sort of juice content in there. So fortunately, I've had the opportunity to go to Frankfurt a couple of times. Quite a boring city in general. It's a financial city. There's not much fun. Sorry, Frankfurters. I love you.
What a boring city from the Ciderologist.
I mean, I'm not necessarily the jazziest person, but it's a bit boring. Come on.
Is it jazz you're looking for? I mean...
That's the title of the episode there, Grant. Is it jazz you're looking for?
It's not sex you're looking for.
It's not the culturally vibrant hub that other cities may have within Germany, but it does have this lovely part called the Sachsenhausen, which is like the old town, the cobbled streets kind of bit, and there are some of the old classic Apfelwein bars, pubs there basically, whereby vegans close your ears. That the tradition is to have like a giant knuckle of pork, basically, with a bimble worth of apple wine.
Pork knuckle with jug of bimble.
No. That can't be founding fathers.
Gabe, but before you carry on,
Yes.
I wanted to ask, you were saying it's not necessarily a replacement for wine, but is the alcohol content relative to and comparable by, or is it actually the same as the UK where it's like almost half that of wine?
The alcohol, it is cider, so it's going to be generally in the 6 to 8.5% ABV range. So it's described as, apple wine will translate as apple wine. That's the level of my,
I believe it's apple wine in the
apple
UK.
wine, I think, utilizing my
Take out a
great
couple
deduction.
of F's and you're there.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll have to consult the periologist Martin and just double check that in fact it is.
Yeah, he's bad.
So, what I've wondered because I've not tasted a lot of German cider, well, any German cider actually, but I guess the apple wine thing, automatically you think, is it? Does that mean it's served like wine or presented like wine, or is that literally just a translation thing where it's called apple wine because it's made like wine and it's made from apples?
Yeah, I think it's more the translation, whereas the etymological root of cider just didn't work in Spain and France and England. Came from from that sort of Latin root around sica and the sidra and sidra and cider thereafter. For some reason, in the Germanic culture, it was more sort of simplistic in terms of this is an apple wine. It's like a wine, but it's made from apples. Not pertaining to it being a higher alcohol, pertaining to it being as a readily and always utilized substitution for wine, but it literally is just that fermented apple juice.
Okay.
But is it presented in 750ml bottles like wine, or is it? Can you buy it by the pint? Again, it's just about the culture of drinking that. How different it is to how we drink it here.
It's two different ways. If there are again in Frankfurt and in the sort of surrounding Hessen region, there will be a heritage of these pubs and bars whereby cider is the local drink, and it will be served in this blue and white vase, which is called a bembel, and this is the draft cider, and it gets poured into these wonderful sort of cut crystal glasses. That's what you traditionally drink apple wine out of in this part of the world. If you're not, so I suppose that's the equivalent of the draft serve. If you're buying it bottled, it is in a 750ml bottle. It's sort of presented like a table wine because it's still. And it will be 750ml. I suppose today it's all screw cap. It might have been cork once upon a time. So I suppose in that way that you could say that it was drunk in the same way as wine. It just might not be necessarily that it's a substitute for wine, I suppose.
Okay. So lovely.
There we go.
Hopefully that
question.
Answers your poem. I don't know what to say. Like, I feel like I kind of had the cider poem market cornered, and then this German just fucking shows up. I actually have a real soft spot for Germany because I proposed to my now wife Hannah in Berchtesgaden, which is just shy of Hitler's eagle's nest, which we found out afterwards.
Isn't that romantic?
But I proposed to her in Lake Königssee, and it was like misty mountains, and you take this boat going down, and then we went off on another boat, and we got to this little pocket, and I'd picked this kind of little walk that we'd done, and I proposed to her there, and I love Germany. I love the people. I love the culture. And the scenery. It's almost a shame that we've kind of done Brexit now because it's shit. But
it's almost a shame.
It is almost a shame because sovereignty above my holiday. We're a sovereign nation.
That's a slight understatement, but yeah.
It is a slight understatement. But the idea, it's one of those places that I would talk to people about and go like, I went to Germany, and they're like, did you? And you're like, it's fucking amazing. I fucking love it.
And it's fucking close. That's, it's so close, so easy to get to, and now it's going to be a fucking pain in the arse.
Did you ever play there as Frightened Rabbits, Grant?
As Frightened Rabbits? Not under that name. As Frightened Rabbit, yes, without the S on the end.
What about the plural thereof? So as the members of the Frightened Rabbits.
Oh, so you're asking individually?
Yeah. I've asked all the members so far.
You've asked everyone else. Everyone else, they just answered the question. They weren't an arse about it. We played there. Well, Germany is like within Europe as a touring band. It has its own sort of touring circuit you can do because it's so big.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can go to France isn't so great for touring bands because they
just end it there. France isn't so great.
Explain it a little bit. They have a great policy where they have a percentage of radio plays have to be indigenous music. So,
okay.
Yeah, which is brilliant. I think it's
like Canada.
I think it's something that a lot of Canada has it, and that's why you get so many successful Canadian artists outside of Canada because they support them financially, artistically, and it's great. France is the same, which means it's hard for touring bands to go there. Germany, you go and you play like 4 or 5 shows within Germany and do this little tour, and even as a small band. So we went there a lot, and you can get Europe is difficult, but if you kind of get a following in Germany, you can build a tour around it in Europe.
It sounds silly. Does it's like, because your music it sounds so Scottish talking about it, and does that resonate with areas like Germany? Do you know what I mean? I can't phrase that question any simpler.
No, I know what you mean. Like I don't know. It's the honest answer. I don't know what it is that because especially with us with the band, the lyrics are so important to people in English speaking countries. In the UK and the US, that was what people really, really clung on to about the band. So I get, but I guess in Europe, they do. Most of the countries have a good grasp of English, and they speak English well, and maybe they just felt the same way that people did in the UK and in other English speaking countries. But I don't know, or there's so many expats there that that's more Australia. Actually, we'd go to Australia and be like, this is great, we're getting to go all the way to Australia and play shows. All right, that's because there's fucking hundreds of Scottish people here.
Well, _the_man. There's a little bit of Germany and the Frightened Rabbits for you as well. Thank you for your poem. Thank you for your question. I hope we've kind of answered it. But if not, fuck you. I don't care. We've done a nice thing. I've dedicated about 20 minutes of my life to you. So cheers. Cheers to you, bud.
Cheers to you.
Cheers indeed. And there we go, everybody. I think that pretty much wraps up another episode of the Neutral Cider Hotel. Thanks again to Colleen and James from Duckchicken Cider for joining us. And, as we say every week, if you enjoy our podcast and want to help, please do tell your friends all about us. And especially if you're in the US, please subscribe, rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Follow on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. Instagram and Facebook, we are Neutral Cider Hotel. And on Twitter, we're Neutral Cider Pod. And as always, you can listen online and share episodes at neutralciderhotel.com. There we go. Everybody, Grant, Martin, Scott, thanks for another week. Another great time.
What's cheers in German?
Prost.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. Why would I lie?
Alex, I feel like you've taken the Russian one.
Schmergensschwagj.
That is not a word.
No, it's Prost.
Is it really Prost?
It's Prost.
Yeah.
Prost. Prost.
Prost.
Well, Prost.
Prost.
I mean, I'm not even trying. Prost. Yeah. I'm really sorry, Germany. We've added another fucking country, haven't we? A touch of Prost.
The Neutral Cider Hotel was brought to you with funding from the EU. Thank you very much for all of your... We'll see you in like 20 years' time when we probably realise that we made a bad mistake and want to claw our way back in.
We want you back.